Mr. Leung. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the chapter 11 questions in the cell cycle and cell division. So remember that in this video, we shall go through different types of questions, maybe some matching, true or false, and MC, and actually all of them, they serve the same purpose. It's for us to distinguish different things we learn in this chapter. We need to distinguish the chromosome, chromatid, and chromatin. And then we need to distinguish the mitotic cell division and meiotic cell division. We also need to distinguish the prophase, metaphase, anaphase from telophase, all different phases in the nuclear division. So that's why in this chapter, we always need to compare and contrast any similarity and any difference between different maybe structure or different stages we learn in this chapter. So for these questions, they are the true or false questions. So we can see that the structure here we are going to study is the chromosome found in the cell. So we can find that P, Q, W, X, Y, Z, these 6 structures. And for these structures, so have a good practice first. We have the P and Q, the duplicated chromosome, and W, X, Y, Z, the chromatids. So in this diagram, of course, we cannot see the chromatin because when the cell is really undergoing the cell division, so they will become the very compact, they will coil up to become the very condensed, very compact structure. We call it chromosome. So we need to have a very brief revision about the chromatin as well. So for the previous pages, so we can see the structure of the chromatin and chromosome and also the chromatid. So on the left hand side, we can see that the chromatin, the fibers, so it's made up of the DNA and also the protein. The DNA will coil up around the protein. But for the chromatin, it is very diffuse because when the cell, it is not undergoing the cell division. So actually, the DNA molecules, it will become a very diffuse structure. And on the right hand side, so when the cell is undergoing the cell division or just before the cell division, so the DNA will coil up around the protein and then it will become condensed. So finally, it will become a very compact structure. So on the right hand side, which is the duplicated chromosome. So in this part, this cross, it is a chromosome because after the DNA replication, and then in order to separate the chromosome easily, so that's why it will become the chromatid. Okay, so in this part, we recall the concept I talked about in the lesson. Why we call the chromatid? Because if we still name it as chromosome, so somehow it will be a bit confusing, or in the duplicated chromosome, it contains the chromosome. So that's why we have another name, chromatid. And for the relationship is that these two chromatids, they are the sister chromatids. So in one duplicated chromosome, there are 2 sister chromatids. So, after we have the naming, so I would like to go through the relationship between the P, Q, W, X, Y, Z first. So for P and Q, they are a pair of homologous chromosomes. So just let's say, for example, chromosome P, that's the chromosome from father. And then for the chromosome Q, it is the chromosome from mother. So that's 1 from father, 1 from mother. And also the length are very similar, and also they may contain corresponding genes to control the corresponding characteristic. For example, they also contain the genes to control the hair color, or they contain the gene to control the skin color, something like this. So that's why same length and then corresponding genes to control corresponding characteristic, and also 1 from father, 1 from mother. So they are a pair of homologous chromosomes. And then for WX, Y and Z, WX, they are the sister chromatid in P, so they are genetically identical. So the concept is that, so in the chromosome P, so before the DNA replication, there should be only 1 chromosome. But after DNA replication, there will be another one duplicated. So that's why in this cross, it is a duplicated chromosome. Okay, so that's why W and X, they are genetically identical. And then for the Y and Z, they are also the sister chromatid in chromosome Q, so they are also genetically identical. So for example, for the chromosome Q, so there should be only one chromosome before the DNA replication. But after DNA replication, there should be one more chromosome duplicated. But of course, we do not call it chromosome. We call it chromatid. So that's why Y and Z, they are also the same. So for question number 1, P consists of 2 DNA molecules. Of course, it is correct. Because for chromosome P, it is a duplicated chromosome. And that's why I say why it is duplicated, because the DNA undergoes the DNA replication already. And then for the second one, P and Q come from the same parent. So of course, it's not correct because they are a pair of homologous chromosomes. So that's why one from father and one from mother. Okay, so that's why not the same parents. And then number 3, W and X, they are a pair of homologous chromosomes. By the definition, of course, is also wrong because for W and X, they should be the sister chromatid, as what I mentioned just few minutes ago. And then for the number 4, WXYZ, they are identical DNA molecules. So the concept is that, as what I mentioned, WX, they are genetically identical, correct. Y and Z, they are also genetically identical, they are also correct. But for the whole chromosome P and chromosome Q, actually they are not the same. So that's why for the DNA composition for P and Q, they should not be identical. So that's why for the 4th statement, they are false. So in this part, I'm going to talk about the examination of different stages of the cell cycle. So for this part, I would like to tell you the skills is that if we would like to distinguish or to identify different stages of the cell division, interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, the cytoplasmic division. So that's why we need to observe the behavior of the chromosome. So what does it mean, the behavior of the chromosome? It means that actually, can you see that the chromosomes, they are lining up in the middle of the cells? Are the chromatid, they are separating from each other to the opposite pole. So that means it is in the anaphase. And also, can you see the chromosome or can you see the chromatin? That means are the cell is really undergoing the cell division or not? Okay, it's still at the rest stage. Or finally, can you see the 2 daughter nuclei or even 2 daughter cells finally? Let's see, we take a look at the left hand side first. So for this part, if you would like to copy the phases, so you can pause the video, okay? And then for this part, for example, for G, actually you cannot see the chromosome, right? Okay, it is the chromosome, very compact one, right? But we cannot see it, it's still the chromatin. So that's why the cell is not really undergoing the cell division, which is the interphase at this moment. And then for the cell A, okay, so you can see the chromosome already. But are they really lining up in the middle of the cells? Not yet. Are they separating from each other? Also not yet. So that's why at this moment we only see the chromosome. So that's the prophase, okay, preparation for the nuclear division, okay, will take place. And then for cell B, so you can see that the chromosome, they are really lining up in the middle of the cells. So they are the metaphase. And then for C and D, okay, close up first. So for C and D, you can really see the 2 daughter nuclei, right? Okay. So actually, what are they? So for these cells, you can still see that it's in the whole cells with 2 daughter nuclei. But for this part, you can see that there is one cell here and there is another cell here. Because in this microscopic slide, which is we are observing the onion cells, which is a plant cells. So that's why we can observe the cell wall, okay, very clearly. Okay, so that's why we can see that the cell wall separating the cells already, and there are 2 cells. So that's why for the C, okay, which is the cytoplasmic division, the cells, they are really separated. But for D, it's still in the same cells, okay, but we can see the 2 daughter nuclei. So that's why it's only the telophase at this moment. And then on the right hand side, okay, the same idea. We observe the chromosome behavior. Also for the H and I, so we cannot see the chromosome. Okay, we can still see the chromatin. So that's why it's just at the resting stage. But for J, okay, the chromosome, we can see that the chromosome is here, and then they are really being separated to the opposite pole. So that's why for J, it is the anaphase. And then for E and F, the same concept, okay? E and F, we can still see the daughter nuclei here, But for E, okay, is still the same cell. But for another one, for F, okay, actually you can see the new cell wall is here. So that's why the two cells, they are being separated. So that's why E is the telophase. And then for F, which is the cytoplasmic division, is just like C and D. Okay, so that's why in this part I would like to give you a very brief idea. Okay, how can we distinguish the different stages of the cell cycle? And then for this part, the same idea, okay, just like in the practical. So in this part, we also need to observe the behavior of the chromosome. So that's why we can see that are they really lining up in the middle of the cells? Are they being separated? Are they chromosome of chromatin, or are there two different daughter cells or daughter nuclei? We can observe. So on the diagram, okay, in the diagram W, so we can see that the chromosome, they are really separating to the opposite pole. So that's why it is the anaphase. And then for diagram X, you can see the chromosome. But are they lining up in the middle? Not yet. Are they really separating from each other? Not yet. So it is the prophase. And then for Y, because they are really lining up in the middle of the cells. So maybe in the textbook, most likely we always see that the chromosome will line up like this in the middle. But actually, if you just turn it maybe anti-clockwise, okay, 90 degrees, so actually you can observe like this. The chromosome, they are really lining up in the middle of the cells. So that's why they are the metaphase. And then for Z, okay, can you see the chromosome? Okay, just like this very thick, condensed structure? Not yet. So it's still the chromatin. And then you can see that it's a bit diffuse. So that's why it's still the interphase.